Greetings everyone and welcome to my tactical commentary for today's online sortie on IL-2 Cliffs of Dover. Today I'll be flying the BF-109E3. The E3 is a fantastic fighter. It's got a great top speed, it climbs well, it dives well, it accelerates well, and it's got great firepower and good all-around maneuverability. The main weakness of the E3 compared to its typical opponents on the other side of the channel, and this really applies to all 109 variants, is that it's not very good in sustained turns. Since I can't really compete with the likes of a Spitfire or a Hurricane in any kind of sustained horizontal turning, typically what I'll be trying to do is keep the fight in the vertical with a lot of climbing and diving, where my 109's fuel-injected engine has superior performance. If you do see me doing horizontal maneuvers, usually what you'll be seeing is a scissors, where I'm doing a lot of reversing of direction. And the reason for this is because the 109's low-speed handling qualities are actually quite good, and at least there I can compete on a relatively even playing field against my better turning opponents. Really, if there's anything missing from the 109E3, that would probably have to be automatic prop pitch control. In the E3, propeller pitch is all manual. You're going to have to constantly be messing with that the entire time that you're in the air, and it's extremely important. It's not something that you can just ignore if you're going to fly the game on full reel settings. I guess a good analogy for prop pitch in this plane would probably be something like a stick shift in your car as opposed to an automatic transmission, in that you're constantly having to shift gears to maintain the RPMs in your car's engine. Well, it's basically the same thing here in the 109. You constantly have to adjust the prop pitch to keep your engine's RPMs at its optimal level, which when you're at full power in the 109, you should be somewhere up a little bit above 2,300 RPM for your engine. And your cruise speed, it can be less than that, hovering around the 2,000 RPM. But you really have to constantly watch that. For this sortie, I didn't have any specific mission, so I just decided to climb up to about 5,000 meters in the relative safety of the French coastline and cross the channel and kind of tease my way up and down the southern English coast and see what kind of trouble I could stir up. And sure enough, there are some enemies. I don't know if you can see them yet, given the streaming quality, but there's actually a 3-ship Vic of enemy fighters at my 2 o'clock low, and they are headed in the opposite direction. Now, I do have to give them props for adopting a historical formation for the time period, but if you're going to form up into a 3-ship Vic, you have to be disciplined. It's not a fluid formation like a finger 4, and these guys, as you'll probably soon see in the video, did not have the discipline to properly keep that formation and cover each other. At its heart, the Vic is actually a pretty good formation for the time. The left wingman constantly looks to the right and can therefore cover the 6 o'clock of the flight leader and the right side wingman, and then the wingman's looking to the left and covering the other guys. But in order for that to work, everybody has to keep formation, and the difficulty with the Vic is that it's too rigid of a formation. Anytime the formation turns, if the guys on the outside don't accelerate to keep their position, and the guy on the inside doesn't decelerate to keep his position, then the formation splits up and they lose that mutual visual coverage. And what you're about to see is the right wingman dies because the left wingman was not doing his job, and when their formation just turned to the left, and the left wingman, as you can see, split up from the rest of the formation, and the reason he did that was because he didn't decelerate when the formation turned, so he got too far ahead when basically he cut the corner going full speed. And so the whole formation had no eyes on me because nobody was covering this guy's 6, and he pays for that mistake. 1 down, 2 to go. I see here that the flight leader has no idea what just happened behind him, but finally the left wingman noticed what was going on and broke into me, and I got a snapshot on him. And I tried to follow the leader here, but when I looked back to check on the guy that I just fired at, I see him right here in front of me, and I noticed 2 things. Number 1, he's turning away from me. Number 2, he's damaged. He's got a trail of vapor coming out behind him. And here, what I really think happened is when he got hit, he lost sight of me, and when he pulled up to turn, he saw his flight leader, and I think that he thinks that his flight leader is the 109, and he's chasing his flight leader thinking it's me, and has no idea that I'm right on his 6 about to fire. Now this would have been a sure kill had I just held my fire for just 2 or 3 seconds longer and waited for him to fill my sight like the last one, but I got a little bit too excited and fired too soon, so he broke. Either way, he stalls out here crippled, and I don't get visual confirmation of any kind of victory here, but I've got bigger fish to fry because the flight leader turned around and is coming back to get me here, so I'm breaking into him. Now, by this point in the fight, I've pretty much lost my energy advantage over this guy, because he took the time to extend and build up his speed before coming back. So really we're pretty much co-E, but I'll do what I can. And here he comes, so I'm gonna pull up into him. Don't quite make it, so I'm gonna roll over and try to reacquire sight. And oh my god, there's a 4th Hurricane on my 6, and he has a ton of E. And he has my number. So I'm going to execute the #1 super expert best combat air maneuver ever. It's never failed me yet, and it is called running like a scared kitten. Now remember guys, there's no shame in running to live and fight another day, especially when the situation turns against you. And here it just went from a 1-on-1 with a co-E opponent to a 2-on-1 with opponents with more energy than me. So I will simply do a long dive away and try to separate myself from them, and I will head for the safety of the French coastline. And noticing that my cannons are out of ammo as well, I decided that it's a good time to land. So here I am checking over my shoulder to eye the guy following me, and it looks like he's breaking off. And double checking, and yes, that's his dot fading into the distance, so he gave up and turned away. That's one advantage that your 109 does have, is that you pretty much have control over the engagement. If you want to fight, then you can. If you don't want to fight, then you don't have to. It's relatively easy to disengage. As long as you have altitude, you can always escape from any of these British planes. The Hurricane will not generally be able to keep up with you in a dive, and you will be able to get the separation you need. So here I am over the relative safety of the French coastline at the Pas de Calais, and I am trying to find my airfield out of all these dozens of airfields around this area. And after confirming its position on the map, I'm looking for it on the ground, and there it is, right there, where I'm circling the mouse. So I will go in for a landing. And this is me on final approach, with flaps down, gear down, prop pitch at fully fine. And trying to line myself up here. I'm always so bad at finding the runway and landing on it straight, so I usually have to make these little corrections beforehand. Luckily though, this is just a grass field, so even if I mess up the approach a little bit, I could land really in any direction I want, and the grass would be sufficiently flat enough for me to land on, even if I don't land on the main runway. and that's touchdown. And this is the end of the sortie. It lasted about 30 minutes, a little over 30 minutes in real time. And really, the whole situation was perfectly set up for me to be able to kind of sneak in and grab a kill and escape. Less to do with personal skill, which I'm still trying to develop, but more just a kind of perfect storm of circumstances for the other side. I hope you guys liked the video and the commentary, and if you'd like to see more, please do hit like or subscribe. And if you would do like the commentary format, then please let me know, and I will be sure to make more videos like this in the future.